So Apple recently dropped a new refreshed version of the iPhone SE, a popular budget phone that has the key essentials of a smartphone without sacrificing price. So even though this is the newest iPhone that Apple has released, this is not their flagship, so this doesn't have, edge-to-edge screen or some of the latest and greatest technology. So the target user is someone who doesn't really care about cutting-edge technology, but just want the essentials at a great price and something that they could last for a couple years. They don't want to have to replace this phone on an annual or even biannual basis. That being said, this video is all about comparing this generation of the iPhone SE with the original first generation iPhone SE, which took the form factor of an iPhone 5S or iPhone 5. So hopefully this will be a one-stop shop for you. I'll be doing a full comparison, including hardware changes, internal upgrades, what the camera differences are, of course real-life performances, and finally what Apple could have upgraded but chose not to. So first let's talk about what it came with right out of the box. Now I did do the full initial unboxing video for both of these phones. If you're interested, the link will be at the end of this video. So comparing very similarly colored options, I have the iPhone SE first gen in space gray and the latest one in black. And you can see the Apple logo reflects those colors even down to the printing on the very back. Both of these are 64 gigabytes, so hopefully it will be a pretty fair performance comparison later on. But opening up the box, you can see there's slightly a different orientation in terms of when you get the phone. So the phone on the first gen is shown straight up, the first thing you see, and then you get the paperwork in this little envelope first for the second gen, and then the actual phone comes after. So in the envelope you get the SIM card tray ejector if you bought it unlocked, which I did for both models, and you also get a simple card of a quick start information about the phone, and then some warranty and other fine print plus Apple stickers. The same kind of stuff it can be found in the original iPhone. You got the SIM card tray ejector, just in a slightly different packaging location, and then you have the same three items that I had just mentioned earlier. And then in terms of accessories, they both have the exact same 5-watt extremely slow charger, and both come with ear pods, except the connection is now different because the original had a 3.5mm headphone jack. New one doesn't, so the new one only has a lightning connection, and it comes in a paper cutout as opposed to the original one kind of had this plastic gem case. And finally, you have the same 3.3 foot long lightning to USB cable. Now in terms of customizability of this phone, as you all know, Apple iPhones don't have expandable storage or even a removable battery, so what you buy up front is very important. So now listed on the screen were the available storage capacities and their original launch price. Now with increasingly large photo files, you can imagine that you would want to have a much higher base storage. And you can kind of see the color choices that were also available now. The newer ones have a much deeper color as opposed to kind of the lighter metallic design of the previous version. Now moving on to hardware, the form factor of these phones are definitely very familiar. The original generation one had the same form factor as the iPhone 5S with the boxy design, which I kind of prefer, whereas the new version has the iPhone 8 body with curved edges and the camera bump. Reusing these older iPhone parts is their secret to getting the price down. So if you're shopping for accessories like screen protectors and cases, you can use accessories from former iPhones with the same form factor. Though keep in mind that the 2020 iPhone SE actually has their Apple logo a little bit lower than the iPhone 8. So iPhone 8 cases may not properly display that Apple logo on the latest SE. Now the latest version has a 4.7-inch display and as opposed to the 4-inch one previously, and I know my hand is not going to show justice on these phone sizes because I do have pretty small hands, which is partially why I had no problems not upgrading to a larger, more up-to-date phone, just because as you can see the reachability for me is kind of just right at the 4-inch screen, though I do appreciate the better screen real estate on the later version. And Apple has kind of addressed this by allowing you to double tap the home button so that you can kind of bring down the screen a little bit. But not only has the display gotten bigger, it is overall heavier than the original, and that's also attributed this glass back, which now allows you to wirelessly charge your phone. They're hoping that this wireless charging means that you could free up that lightning connection, because now there is no headphone jack. So if you still want to use a wired headphone, you will have to use that lightning connection. One less opening also means less chance of water to get into your phone. So the second gen SE is IP67, dust-proof, water resistant, so up to 1 meter of water for 30 minutes. There's still, of course, no warranty for water damage though, so still be careful. They're also still trying to minimize moving parts, so now it has the second generation Touch ID with the haptic feedback as opposed to a depressible button. So just doing a quick test here, you can see how much faster the second generation Touch ID home button is as opposed to the original. And one of the most probably underrated new feature is that it now is able to support dual SIM. This is handy if you have a work number as well as a personal number and you don't want to have to carry around two phones, or if you constantly travel abroad, you can have, your local number stored on one SIM card, and then you can easily get a second SIM when you're on the go. Now we move on to some of the internal upgrades. So starting off with the 12 megapixel wide single rear camera, and you can see right now I'm just having some footage play pictures that show the quality boost of the second gen SE in different conditions like HDR or low light. There is now optical image stabilization as opposed to just digital, which becomes very apparent especially in video shooting. And speaking of video, the quality has now drastically improved, and so your portfolio of video shooting has now been dramatically increased. You can see the higher quality at higher frame rates. That's great also for slow-mo video support at faster frame rates. So if you're somebody who shoots video a lot on your phone, this might be a huge feature to consider. Second gen also adds the ability of stereo recording. But one big camera addition, which is more of a software in alignment with their hardware, is their portrait mode. Originally, this feature was introduced on the iPhone X with its dual cameras, but now with very much software enhancements, you can now achieve almost the same effect on the newest iPhone SE. So here's just some sample pics demonstrating the capabilities with bokeh and different types of software-generated lighting. And now moving on to the 7 megapixel front camera, which has been greatly increased from the previous version. It is now also able to shoot at 1080p at 30 frames per second. Once again, you get that portrait mode with the bokeh effect, just like the rear view camera. So clearly the second gen is a huge media powerhouse upgrade from the original. The display not only is bigger now, it's also brighter, has a better contrast ratio. It also has now the True Tone display that will adjust the color temperature based on your ambient conditions. And one of the biggest improvements, I think, is the speakers, which are much louder and overall much better. Here's a sound test. And here on the screen are a couple other minor improvements. Some of them may be more important to others. But one of the biggest selling point I would have to say about the 2020 iPhone SE is definitely that it packs in the A13 Bionic chip processor with the third generation neural engine. For those of you who don't know, that is the same processor that can be found in the current iPhone 11 Pro. So needless to say, software for the Gen 2 SE will be supported for years to come. And speaking of software, let's go ahead and take a look at some real-world tests and also some benchmark testing. So first off, starting off with the boot up time, you can see I have fully charged up both iPhones to 100% battery, just to be fair. They're also both loaded up with the exact same apps, same software version as well, just to make it even. And you can see that the newer iPhone SE, of course, has a much faster boot up time here. Now, next up is the processor benchmark. So let's see how well this newest chip performs against its 4-year-old brother. The app I'm using here is called Antutu Benchmark, so it's going to be able to test both of these processors in various different categories. So you can see it's really running it through its paces. The iPhone SE first gen actually does finish first just because it just couldn't handle some of the more vigorous tests that the second gen could. But after all that, I can tell you both phones got quite warm during this test. But you can see the huge difference in the numbers that they were awarded per CPU, GPU, memory, and auxiliary performance. Second gen outperforms almost at double, and even for the graphics at triple of what the 2016 version was capable of. Now, just because those numbers are drastically different doesn't mean day-to-day use is actually that noticeable. So here's just me navigating through the OS, scrolling through some app pages, pulling up the notification center, control panel, stuff like that. You can't really see any noticeable lag or difference in these cases. You can see a little bit of difference now when I am loading up YouTube videos, but it's honestly that's more on your internet than the actual device itself. Kind of the same story with opening up web pages. I do think that the later generation is able to open up a little bit faster, but it's not a huge noticeable difference. But the two instances where the speed is definitely noticeable is when you're opening apps. So I tried out opening Apple native apps as well as, of course, third-party applications as well. And you can see the vastly improved boot up time of those apps on the second-gen iPhone. Gaming also theoretically would be better on the new one. Of course, not all app developers have updated their apps to really take advantage of what the newest processor can handle. So here I'm playing Riptide GP2, and you can see the performance is roughly the same. I would say the frame rate is a little bit better on the second gen, but playability is still strong on both units. Now, in terms of battery life, this is actually where the original SE will shine just because it has a smaller screen, so it doesn't have to drain as much battery as the new one. But for high intensity tasks, the processor of the second gen is actually much better than the first, which means it will actually have a better battery life when playing really high intense games. But for day-to-day activities and also standby time, the first gen SE actually outshines. A new feature in terms of charging, though, for the second gen is that if you have a 18-watt adapter or higher, which is unfortunately sold separately, you can achieve 50% charge in 30 minutes, which is kind of Apple's stab at Qualcomm's quick charging. So now I've discussed some of the key differences between the two units. There are a couple of small other improvements that I'm listing here on the screen. But some things to keep in mind that still are the same is the pixel density of the phone. Even though the second gen SE's display is overall better, the actual resolution has not changed. And of course, the biometric way of unlocking a phone is still via Touch ID, not Face ID, which in my opinion is still much more reliable than Face ID anyway, so I think that's kind of a plus. So at this point, hopefully this has helped you decide if you do own the original SE, whether or not it's worth the upgrade. Personally, I still love my original SE. Like, if they had not released the new SE, I probably would not have bought the new one. But if you do feel like your current SE has kind of been through its paces, getting a little bit laggy, and you don't really care about having the latest bells and whistles, then this 2020 version of the iPhone SE is a no-brainer. Currently, of course, the launch price is $399 for 64 gigs, and it goes up to $549 for the 256 gigabyte model right now. Three biggest reasons to upgrade would be that it will be supported software-wise for a very long time. It has some of the best camera and video quality in a budget phone while still having the Touch ID way of unlocking your phone. So that'll conclude this comparison video, guys. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give me a like. I would greatly appreciate it. Definitely subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I am planning on comparing the 2020 SE with my work phone, which is the iPhone 8, which probably has the most similarity among any other iPhone. So definitely subscribe to my channel if you're interested in that.